Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion, and on my video on the lack of monotheism in the Bible, I recently got this comment, which reads, "Can you please explain how John 10, verses 34 through 35 relate to your views on Psalm 82? Thanks for a great question. I'm happy to explain. To begin, my views on Psalm 82 are described in great detail in this Journal of Biblical Literature article that I published in 2018, where I argue that Psalm 82 is a post-exilic composition that was rhetorically trying to universalize Adonai, first by deposing the patron deities of the other nations and condemning them to mortality, and then calling on Adonai to inherit all nations, thereby extending their purview from just the land of Israel to all the nations of the earth. So the exiled Judahites could access their deity outside of that deity's original purview. Now, a lot changes between that composition and the composition of the Gospel of John in the late 1st century CE. And a lot of people point to 11Q13 or 11Q Melchizedek as informing their interpretation of Psalm 82, because in that Dead Sea Scroll fragment, we have the God that is standing in the council at the beginning of Psalm 82 identified as Melchizedek. I don't think that's actually incredibly helpful to how we interpret Jesus' quotation of verse 6 from Psalm 82. I think later rabbinic exegesis is more informative, because that exegesis talks about Psalm 82 as a reference to the Israelites at Sinai. And the idea is basically that upon the reception of the law, the word of God, at Sinai, the Israelites were freed from the power of the angel of death and basically rendered immortal and therefore gods. But then upon sinning with the golden calf, they are then condemned back to mortality. So this is the interpretive lens that was used within early Judaism to historicize and find a location within the macro narrative of the history of Israel for Psalm 82. And I think that makes much better sense of Jesus' appeal to the psalm. Now, before we talk about John 10, 34 through 35, I think we need to address John 10, 33, which I argue is not accusing Jesus of making himself the very God of Israel, capital G God, but is using theos anarthrously in a qualitative sense, parallel to the anarthrous and qualitative use of anthropos in the parallel clause. So it's saying, you, though you are human, are making yourself divine, rather than though you are human, you are making yourself God. And this actually makes much better sense of Jesus' response, because if Jesus is responding to the accusation of making himself the very God of Israel, his response is a straw man. It's not addressing that accusation, because Jesus' response is basically, the scriptures refer to humans as gods. Why are you getting on my case for saying I'm the Son of God? And Psalm 82 is relevant here because the idea is that the Word of God came to the Israelites at Sinai, and the scriptures, which cannot be annulled, called them gods as a result. Now, God has sanctified that word, sent it into the world. That word is standing before you. The word that renders other humans gods is standing before you, and you're saying it's blasphemy for me to call myself the Son of God? Please, don't be silly. Jesus is basically saying there's nothing wrong, there's nothing blasphemous with me identifying as a divine being, as the Son of God. I am the Word of God, and even in your scriptures, the Word of God renders other humans divine. So there's nothing blasphemous about me claiming to be the Son of God. Now, I've also discussed this in a great bit more detail in a 2015 paper that I published in a Latter-day Saint venue. This discusses my perspective on Psalm 82. It discusses the way the interpretation of Psalm 82 changed. It discusses Psalm 82 within John 10, and it also discusses how Psalm 82 has traditionally been read by Latter-day Saints. So you can skip that part if you don't want that. The rest of the discussion is academic and is about my own academic position on Psalm 82 and Psalm 82 within John 10. And the fit for this video has been the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Heroes on a Half Shell, Turtle Power.